Hi, my name is Karen Smith. I'm the founder and director of Full Living, a psychotherapy practice. We've recently launched a new division to our practice, which is Full Living Psychedelic Psychotherapy Retreats. And I want to tell you a little bit about it. You may or may not know that psychedelic assisted psychotherapies are in the middle of a revival. They have been slated for FDA approvals. Various psychedelics have been slated for FDA approvals in the coming year, including MDMA, commonly referred to as Molly, and Psilocybin, which is the psychoactive component in mushrooms. And there's already a psychedelic which is currently legal for use among psychotherapists, which is ketamine, and that's the one I'm here to talk to you about. Some people would imagine that ketamine is secondary to these other medicines, but as a therapist, I have to disagree. There's multiple reasons that make ketamine a great medicine for use in the psychotherapy setting, including the shortness of the medicine, which only lasts about 40 to 90 minutes, making it an ideal experience for having a therapist present and available to you throughout the session. But there's also much more meaningful reasons why this is a particularly helpful drug for doing psychedelic assisted psychotherapies, and that's what I'm here to tell you about. So there are three components that make this a particularly useful medicine. The first one is the medicine itself, the molecule. That there are multiple medicines that operate for mood disorders on various systems within the body. So you might be familiar with ones like serotonin, dopamine. Ketamine actually operates on the glutamate system, which none of the other medicines do, and that for a large portion of the people who take this medicine twice a week for 4 to 8 weeks, experience a significant reduction in depression and anxiety in a lasting way. This is about 2/3 of the people who take it in this protocol will have a massive reduction in their depression and anxiety symptoms. And so that alone makes this medicine an incredibly useful medicine. The second component is the medicine session experience, otherwise referred to as the trip. So what makes a trip such a useful tool is that you have access to unconscious material while still in a lucid state. So instead of in dreams where your conscious mind is in fact asleep, during a ketamine session, your conscious mind is present and aware and available to help direct you and help you ask questions to your unconscious and gain access to core material that you might otherwise be defended against or have difficulty accessing. And in a ketamine session, you and your therapist, who's sitting right next to you, are able to ask your inner healing intelligence the questions that you find elusive in your waking hours. It's also just an opportunity to gain a totally different worldview of yourself, of your relationships, and you do it in an environment, an internal environment that's filled with goodness and kindness and generosity. So even if you're asking kind of hard and scary questions about a loss that you've experienced recently, you're doing it in an environment where where you're likely to have a lot of internal kindness towards yourself and kindness towards others, which just make it a much easier, richer experience. The third component that makes ketamine a useful medicine for psychedelic assisted therapies is that it provides neuroplasticity for 2 to 3 days each time you take the medicine. So neuroplasticity is one of the keys to what make all psychedelics useful during the experience itself, which is that we often have our minds take certain journeys of thought. So we have very entrenched ways of thinking and behaving sometimes. We have neurons that fire in a specific sequence. So if we have a thought, it's likely to be followed by the same next thought and the same next feeling and the same old conclusion. And what happens during a psychedelic medicine session is that our mind is much more fluid and malleable, and we're able to have new and novel thoughts and ideas. And what's interesting about ketamine is that neuroplasticity lasts for days after each trip. And that allows for all kinds of new thinking about all the things you do in the day. When you wake up in the morning and you feel a little dread about the day, for instance, if you have a heavy day coming up and you normally have that feeling of dread, you're likely to start with that feeling of dread and then suddenly have this whole new thought come in about how you might want to approach your day and what might be another way to frame your understanding of the day. So the neuroplasticity is pretty exciting. Because the protocol for the molecule asks people to consider taking it twice a week for 4 to 6 weeks, what we encourage at Full Living is that if you're interested in psychedelic psychotherapy, that you consider taking a 2 to 3 month period where you're just going to do a deep dive, where you're going to have lots of conversations with friends, where you're going to do yoga and meditation and journal writing, and you're going to take walks in the woods and sit in a park, where you're going to spend 2 or 3 months making good use of that neuroplasticity so that you can be focused and come to each trip with some intentionality and some purpose, and use it to move forward whatever the issues are that you feel like have plagued you for a very long time. So if you are interested in doing some of this work with Full Living, just give us a call, shoot us an email. We'll set up a free initial consult. We'll use that consultation to help assess whether or not you're a good candidate psychologically, medically for this medicine. We'll help get you set up with a psychiatrist in order to get a prescription, and we'll then review your different options for psychedelic assisted psychotherapies, either with us or with other folks, depending on what your needs are, so that we can make sure we get you the right conditions for a really exciting journey in your life.